Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 219 and I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Monday, October 24th, and I have a little bit of a cold. I realized I started the last podcast out by saying that exact same thing. I actually have more of a cold than I had last time, but it's not the same cold. The first one went away, then this one started last Thursday, and yeah, this one has actually turned into a full-blown cold though, so a head cold, not anything horrible. But I think I'm over the worst of it. I sound kind of funny, and I sound funny in my head. You know how that happens because you can't hear right. Anyway, so I will try not to cough too much and hopefully won't need to sneeze. But I know as I talk, I'm probably going to get a tickly throat. So I have my tea here. So hopefully I can keep the coughing at bay. How are you? I hope you are having a really good week. I apologize. I did not get a chance to look at the welcome thread to see if anybody introduced themselves. I don't think they did. Last time I checked, there had been nobody else new. But welcome. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, thank you for checking me out. If you've been watching for a while, thanks for coming back. You can find show notes for the episode in Ravelry, in the episode on Ravelry, in the episode thread on the 90% Knitting board. The episode is always posted in YouTube. You can download it through iTunes, and I also embed it in the episode thread on Ravelry. There's also a Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry if you want to follow that for information about my yarn and my business. And there's a Fiber Nymph Dye Works page on Facebook, which is a wonderful resource because I always post there about anything related not only to the business, but when there's a new podcast episode up, anything like that. So that's kind of like the one-stop shop for information about 90% knitting and about Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Okay. I have not talked to you in almost 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks this Thursday, I guess like a week and a half. And I did do a very short little mini episode last Friday, but that was only about the new club, the first new club. I told you about 2 of them that are coming. But the Killarney Collection Club, I did a short little intro video to that. So that's about 10 minutes long. I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the podcast, but if you want to know anything in depth about the club, please go check that video out. Or you can go to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group on Ravelry, and there's a thread there telling you about that club, all the pertinent details. Sign-ups for that one are open now, so you can do that between now and Friday, the 28th. So, but otherwise, my regular podcasting, I have not done an episode since the 13th, and I've got a lot to catch you up on because not only did I go to Rhinebeck 2 weekends ago, but I was away this past weekend as well in New Jersey. We were on a canoe trip with a whole bunch of Bill's friends, and yeah, I had this major cold, and I was out in New Jersey. We were at the Pine Barrens, which I never even knew existed, but it was actually quite lovely. Canoeing, and Saturday it rained and it was cold and I felt miserable because that was like the worst day of my cold, and it was not fun. It was not a fun day of paddling because this was paddling on these very small, windy rivers with lots of obstacles and tree branches and rocks and logs, and just a totally different type of paddling than I have ever done. So it was a little frustrating for us both. Believe me, I'm in the bow, he's in the stern, and he's like, yeah, it was not going well. Yesterday was a much better day, though. We had a much better time. The weather was lovely. I was feeling much better. And I don't know if the river that we were on yesterday was easier, but I had caught on to what I needed to do. So it made it easier for both of us, I think. Anyway, all of that to say, I had 2 very long trips in the car, both there and back again, that gave me a ton of knitting time. So I do have a lot of knitting to show you, although it's on a limited number of projects because I've not been completely monogamous, but I've been concentrating most of my knitting time on specific projects. And the first of which is my Antler Cardigan. It has seen a ton of progress since you've seen it last. I can't wait to show it to you. So this is the Antler Cardigan by Tin Can Knits. The yarn I'm using is Cascade 220 Heathers in the Aspen colorway. And the last time you saw it, I was still working on the body. I had about an inch to go before I added the sleeves. Well, here we are now. So I finished the body part. Both sleeves are incorporated. And I have done the 4 chart repeats of the Antler cable chart. So I'll try to hold that up a little closer. So this is the main cable chart for this size. I'm doing the large size at this point. I did the extra large for the body. I did the large for the sleeves. I'm doing the large for the top, for the yoke. You do 4 repeats of the main cable, and then there's a decrease cable pattern. So all I have left to do at this point is the decrease cable chart, which I think is about 15 or 16 rows. And then you do a collar band, you know. So I'm going to say I'm probably within about 25 or so, definitely under 30 rows of finishing the main part of this sweater. And then all I'll have to do is pick up for the button bands. So I am so excited to be this far along and to be so close to being done with this. There's like hope that I'll be able to wear this like by November, depending on how much work I get to put on it. But yeah, this was the majority of my car knitting Rhinebeck weekend, and it was pretty much all of my car knitting yesterday on the way home from New Jersey. So lots of time spent on my Antler cardigan. The other 2 projects that I spent any significant time on were socks. The first one is the one you've seen several times now, and this is the Twilight socks. This is the Arnie and Carlos yarn in the Twilight colorway. This is the second sock. I believe the last time you saw it, it was at this little marker. So the cuff down to this marker. So I finished the rest of the length of the sock, and I'm at the point where I just need to do the toe now. And then I will put the afterthought heel in both of the socks. So this is just a plain vanilla sock that'll have afterthought heels. I keep waffling on what color I want to do the heel in. I either want to do it in that gray that I've used for other ones, the West Yorkshire Spinners Gray, or I may just do it in the leftover yarn in this colorway. I just don't know what I want to do yet. We'll see. Whatever the spirit moves me to do, when I'm done, that is what I will do. But these are just my plain vanilla socks, 60 stitches on US ones. These are going to be for my daughter for Christmas. So that'll be really nice to get those finished and off the needles. The other one I had just started last week when you saw it, or last time I recorded, and that's the Naruto socks, which will be socks for my middle son, or my middle child, my youngest son, in the Naruto colorway by Gnome Acres. And again, if you aren't familiar, Naruto is an anime cartoon TV show that my kids and I used to really enjoy watching. And I'm sorry, this is all tangled up, and I guess we're going to just have to live with that. But anyway, this is how far I got. You saw it. I had the cuff done and maybe a couple of rows after that. This I had with me yesterday while I was paddling, actually. There was a period of about an hour, like when we got to the put in, we have to get all the boats. And this was a large group. There was like, oh gosh, 16 or 17 of us paddling, and there was at least 12 or 13 boats both days. So all of the boats have to come to the put in and get dropped off, and then all of the cars go to the takeout, which is a good distance away. And, you know, we leave all of the cars there except for 1 or 2, which will drive the drivers back. And so that whole shuttling setup thing takes some time. Bill drove for that. I just waited with the boat and everything both days. Saturday, though, like I said, it was rainy. It was horrible and rainy, and I couldn't have knit even if I wanted to, but yesterday it was nice out, and so I kind of stealthily put this project in my paddling jacket pocket so that I had it with me while they were doing the shuttling. I don't know why I didn't have to stealthily do it. Bill wouldn't have cared if I had it with me or not. But I did that for 2 reasons. Number one, I wanted something to do to pass the time, because even though this was a large group, it was all people I didn't know. And I'm not the best at like starting conversations with people I don't know. I mean, they were all very friendly people and everything, but I'm an introvert and I'm just not that gregarious. And so I have found, and maybe you have found this too, that when you have knitting, it's a natural conversation starter. Even if people have no clue what you're doing, people are bound to come up to you and make a comment about it. And so it starts a way to talk to people. And that's exactly what it did. So I sat and I didn't sit, I was standing and walking around trying to stay warm because it was still a little chilly in the morning. But I was knitting and people kept coming up to me going, oh, what are you making? Oh, you know. And so, you know, I got to talk about knitting and dyeing, even though this isn't my yarn. But, you know, the fact that I have a yarn business and knitting a sock, and people were, oh, I don't remember ever seeing those kind of needles. And so I got to talk about different types of needles. It's just a really comfortable way for me to be social without feeling completely awkward and weird. And so I worked on it then, and I worked on it during our lunch break too. So I had probably like a good 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches to it. I love the colorway. It's perfect Naruto. Like, Naruto is a character as well as the name of the show. And these colors absolutely capture him. So these are for my son, and I can't wait. I think he'll really like them. Again, US 1 needles. Since they're for him, they're on 72 stitches, though, because he's got big feet. But it's going well. I want to finish Emma's first, though, because if I get those done, then I'll feel like that's an entire gift finished. Then I can really, you know, bear down on those and crank them out, because they're going pretty quickly. I mean, plain vanilla socks always go quickly. So anyway, those are the only 3 projects I really worked on. Nothing else significant. I didn't do any spinning, didn't have time. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. What do you do? All right, so let's talk about the KAL, the Work Your WIPs KAL, because that is going on, and you guys are cranking out the WIPs. Like, you're finishing your WIPs, and that's what this KAL is all about. It's been so much fun to look at them. I just wanted to clarify one thing. Any project, almost any project to qualify, the general qualification is that it has to have been a WIP prior to October 1st. Okay, so if you're finishing something and you're posting it in the thread this month, it has to have been started prior to October 1st. I've found a couple that were not, that didn't qualify that way, and I've let the person know, and, you know, I've deleted the posts, you know, that those people put up. The only exception to this is going to be next month and December. If you cast on something in October, one project, I mean, you can cast on as many as you want, but only one will count. If you cast it on in October and you finish it in November, that's your bonus cast-on-itis project for November. But it had to have been started in October and has to be finished in November. Same way December, if you cast something on in November and you finish in December, you can count that as a bonus cast-on-itis project. But there's only 2 projects per person that'll qualify. One in November, one in December, and they have to have been started the week prior, or the month prior. Sorry. This cold. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting tickly. See, I knew this was going to happen. Anyway, let me talk to you about prizes, because I do have all the prizes that I want to show you. We've got a bunch. And again, I'm still accepting prizes if anybody wants to donate. And you don't have to even be a maker. If you just have something in your stash that you think's super nice and you've had it for a while, but you don't think you're going to ever use it and you'd like to donate it, we'd love to have it. So please PM me. But if you are a maker or a designer, I'd love to have something of yours too, and I'll be happy to talk about it on the podcast and show it. But let me show you what I've got so far. First of all, we have a lovely skein of hand-spun yarn. And this was donated by Rebecca, who has a business called Bluebonnet Fibers Hand-Spun Yarn. She also has a podcast called Fiber and Dice Podcast, but she said it's temporarily on hiatus. But anyway, here's her card, and she has an Etsy shop. If I can get it to focus, there it is. It's etsy.com/shop/bluebonnetfibers. And this skein is called The Wizard and the Phoenix. It's a 2-ply, 100% merino, 250 yards, 4.07 ounces, 17 wraps per inch, and it's approximately a DK. It's not superwash, so you're hand washing only, lay flat to dry. But isn't it beautiful? And it's a Harry Potter reference, The Wizard and the Phoenix. Lots of reds and purples and oranges and mauves. It's just a beautiful, beautiful 2-ply. So thank you so very, very much for donating that, Rebecca. I can't wait to be able to give that to somebody. So yay, that's one prize. The next prize I don't physically have here, but I will insert a picture, and it is a drawstring bag by Anna of Whiz Bags. And I'm sorry, I don't have the link to her shop to tell you what it is, but I will try to put it down here. And if it's not there, I will definitely have it in the show notes. And the show notes can be found on Ravelry in the episode thread. So let me put the picture of it in. It's an Australian print drawstring bag. It's lovely. So thank you so very much, Anna, for donating that. She has lovely drawstring bags and zipper bags in her shop, so please go check those out. Okay, a third prize. We have a 2-skein set of West Yorkshire Spinners yarn being donated by a viewer who is Amanda. And she's over in the UK, so she can get this stuff firsthand, which is awesome. The one is the self-patterning yarn called Blue Tit, which is the bird's colorway. And the other one is a coordinating dark blue that will go with it. So both skeins are going to be one prize. And I'm going to put the picture of those skeins here. So thank you so much, Amanda, for donating those. I love that yarn. You guys have seen me knit with other colorways. I actually have that Blue Tit colorway too. I've not used it yet, but it's lovely. So thank you very much. Another donation from another viewer is from Angela, who you may know as Ange in the East, and she is always very prolific in her knitting for our knit-alongs, and so it was so sweet of her to also donate something. And this is from her stash. It's a shift tote kit. I'm going to put up a picture, and she said it's the kit for the bag that has the black bottom in this picture. So here's the picture. Okay, so you'll get the yarn and the pattern to make that particular tote. So thank you so very much, Angela, for donating that. And Angela will be shipping that to you directly, and Amanda will be shipping the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn directly as well. And Anna will be shipping the bag directly to you guys as well. Okay, the other 3 prizes that I have right now are from me. One of them is a skein of my Sunshine Base in the Atomic Nebula colorway. So this is some really, really cool, deep, rich purples and fuchsia pinkish purples in there. So this is Atomic Nebula. It is a tonal colorway. That's one prize. Another prize is fiber related. Now, if you win this prize and you're not a spinner, I will spin it for you. The only caveat to that is I am not a good enough spinner to have you say, I would like a 3-ply fingering weight yarn, please. I can't do that. I'm not that talented. I will be happy to spin it for you, and it will be a usable yarn for you. I just can't guarantee what weight it'll be or how many plies it'll be or whatever. But here's you'll get to choose which one of these you'd like. This is some Polworth, and this is in the dappled colorway, so it's a lot of blues and greens and yellows. Very summery color. Both of the fibers that I chose are kind of summery oriented, but I kind of like that because we're going into fall and everything, and so it's nice to have some bright yarn that you might want to spin with or knit with in the winter at some certain point. The other one you could choose from is this one, which is a merino bamboo blend, which is lovely. I love spinning this, and it's just a very soft, very pretty fiber, and it's in the beachcomber colorway. So that's got some very pale blues, yellows, greens, and a sandy taupe kind of color. So again, if you win this, you can choose which one you want, and if you are a spinner, I'll send you the fiber. If you're not a spinner, I will spin it for you. It'll take me a little while, but you will get it eventually, and I'll send you the yarn. So there's that. Lastly, the last prize, and this prize is going to specifically be for the weigh it section of the, or the weigh-in section of the knit-along, where you're weighing all of your projects, and whoever has the most finished WIPs at the end that weighs the most, that's what this prize is going to be. And it's this book called Mini Skein Knits, 25 knitting patterns using small skeins and leftovers. I've recently discovered this book, and it's got a ton of really fun, cool projects. I'm actually going to be reviewing this book at some point, not this week, but soon. So anyway, I'm going to send this out as one prize, and I will include some mini skeins with it as well. This will be the prize again for the weigh-in part of the knit-along. So the other prizes, I think I'm probably just going to randomly choose them. As I do prizes, I'll randomly choose which ones I'm giving out, which months and everything. So the first prize, the first of these prizes will go out for the October prizes, and I will draw those next podcast, which will be after next Monday, because next Monday is the 31st. So I'll wait until after that to record next, and I'll tell you the winners of the first couple of prizes then. And that will be from the finished objects thread. I am going to do a drawing from the chatter thread today. I'm sorry, I have something in my eye all of a sudden. And I meant to do this ahead of time, and I forgot. But this is from the chatter thread, and so I'm going to do random number generator between 1 and 156. Several of the posts in that thread are from me, and if I land on my own post, I'll just draw again. So we have post number 53. Let's see if I can get to that. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. This is horrible. I've got something in my eye. I may need to pause and get that out. But let me find out who number 53 is. Oh, number 53 is me. Oh, number 149. That's towards the end. Let's see. 149. Oh, that is October 9. And that is Katie, and she is from Woodstock, Canada. So congratulations, Katie. You have won a giftable pattern off of Ravelry of your choice up to a $6 price. So just please PM me when you see this and let me know what pattern you would like, and I will gift that to you. And thank you so much for taking part in the Work Your WIPs KAL and for participating and being chatty. So anyway, I'll do those randomly throughout the thing too. And I'll also, gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to play with my eyeball. Does it gross you out when people play with their eyeballs? I know some people really get squidged out. Anyway, I will also do some drawings throughout the knit along from Instagram. If you're using the Instagram tag 90K Work Your WIPs, I will do a couple of drawings from there as well throughout the duration of the KAL. I'm going to pause and try to get my contact to stop hurting really bad. I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Yes, and now my eye's probably all red and my makeup's everywhere. Yeah, big, long, fibery piece of fuzz in my eye. That was horrible. Those of you who wear contacts can attest. Okay, I believe we got through talking about the Work Your WIPs KAL. So continue working those WIPs. It's very much fun for me seeing all of your finished WIPs. And I'm working on my WIPs too. I mean, technically these are WIPs. Well, actually the Naruto socks are probably would not count if I was going in for the drawing, but the other ones do, so yay. Okay, let's talk about some new things. I've got a couple of new things to tell you about. Well, I've got a new pattern that I was gifted to tell you about, and then I've also got my Rhinebeck goodies to show you. Okay, so the pattern that I was gifted is by Melinda Vermeer. She's a very talented designer, and you've seen her patterns on the podcast before. This one is especially special to me because she used one of my sock blanks in this as she designed it, and it's gorgeous. Oh my goodness. I mean, not my sock blank itself, but what she did with it, I just love. I can't get over the fact that this was a sock blank. So it's called the It's Raining, It's Pouring shawl. And here is one picture of it. And it uses two contrasting yarns. Will you please focus? I'm not trying to cut this person's pretty face off. I'm just trying to get this to focus. There we go. Woohoo! Okay, so that's one shot of it. Let me see if I can find... Oh, here's a back picture of it. This is really pretty. Isn't that lovely? So I'm going to read you the description. It's a half circular shawl. Here's a picture of the half circular. Here's the, I don't want to show you the pattern part, but I'll show you the whole. So that's the whole look of it. I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. It's okay. It's always hard to get paper to focus. Okay, so it's a half circular shawl worked with 2 contrasting colors in a fingering weight yarn from the top down. Once the main color is established, the contrasting color is incorporated as 2 row stripes with wedges of garter to mimic the sweep of a weather radar. I think that is so clever. The shawl ends with a lace panel and in the main color and edged with the contrasting color. So it's simply beautiful. Thank you so much, Melinda, for both using my sock blank to create this and also for gifting me the pattern. I really appreciate it. So I would just really recommend anybody looking for a great new contrasting stripey kind of shawl. If you want a little bit of lace work on it, check this out. Again, her name is Melinda Vermeer. I'll link to this pattern in the show notes, but she's got a lot of really lovely patterns out, so go check those out as well. Okay, let me talk to you about what I brought back from Rhinebeck. I know I haven't really talked about Rhinebeck a whole lot, but it's been a while now, and I know you've seen tons of other podcasters talking about Rhinebeck. So most of what I would say probably would just echo what they would say. You know, it was wonderful. It's always wonderful. It's got a totally different vibe than Maryland. I love both shows, but I love going to both of them for totally different reasons. And it's an unexplainable vibe to me. I feel like Maryland's a much more laid back show. Rhinebeck isn't stressful or anything, but it's different. It's just different. And that was the best way I could describe it to Bill too, because he asked me, well, what makes Rhinebeck better than Maryland? And I said, nothing makes it better. It's just different. So he's been to both of them now, and he too is having trouble really differentiating them. He thinks that that New York is bigger. He thinks that one seems like there's more people and more stuff. I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard it both ways, that one's bigger than the other, but I have no idea. Anyway, I hadn't planned to go to Rhinebeck until a few days beforehand, so I didn't have a shopping plan. My main plan was to just see people, and it was wonderful running into everybody that I got to run into. I was at the podcaster meetup. I did my own amount of fangirling, seeing certain people too. It was just a lot of fun, and just running into people all throughout the day. And then it was just a bummer because after I left, I realized people that I knew were there and I didn't get to run into, which is always the case. There's just never enough time to see everybody. But I did do some shopping, and once I realized I was going, I decided that the shopping I was going to do was probably just going to be fiber. I don't need any more yarn, really. Not that you ever need yarn, right? Most of us have stashes that preclude needing yarn unless you're shopping for a specific project. But at any rate, I really wanted to focus on fiber. And so, okay, I'm going to have to probably reach for some of this. We got there around 9:30 on Saturday morning, so it wasn't first person in the gate or anything, but I did get there early enough to get to the Into the World booth, and I got a couple skeins of yarn for them, or fiber, I'm sorry, a couple braids of fiber from them. And I mainly was looking for breeds that I don't tend to dye, so that I could play with them. So I got this braid of Cheviot in the bigger on the inside colorway. And that is a Doctor Who reference. So that color's pretty good. Lots of blues and orange and yellow and brown. Very pretty. And then on Superwash Targhee, I got Blink, which is also another Doctor Who reference, but it's much deeper. This area that's looking dark up here, this is not black. It's purples and blues. And then this really rich pink and red stuff going on here. And there's some green. It's just lovely. I think I've spun regular Targhee. I've not spun Superwash Targhee. So anyway, those will be some new spinning experiences for me. And Bill was kind enough to stand in this line, because there was quite a line. He was kind enough to stand in that line as I realized that the loop booth was right across the aisle. I hadn't planned to get another loop bullseye bump because I've got a ton of them. I don't need any more. But as we were standing in line, I looked over and I saw these ones that were black and pink and black and white and pink. And I said, please wait right here. I'll be right back. So he took care of paying in that line while I went over to the loop booth and I picked up this beautiful, beautiful bump. Again, I didn't need this, but these are my colors. I love, 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 love this color combination. This one doesn't have any white in it. There was one that was all black and this bright dark pink and white, and that was the one I really wanted, but it was only merino, and that's not my favorite thing to spin. So I looked and looked until I found one that had some other stuff in it too. So this is still mostly merino. It's called Pink Panther. But it's got merino, bamboo, Tessa silk, and Angelina. So it's got a little bit of sparkle. There's not a ton of sparkle, at least not in this outer layer. But you can see it mixed in. So I think it'll be a really fun spin. It just doesn't have any white. That light color is a very light pink. But I love all the different pinks and the black, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And it's the shorter color repeats. It's not her big color repeat ones. So, yeah. I was glad I got it, even though I didn't need it. Because, you know, it is what it is. Another booth that I knew I wanted to go to and get fiber from was the Ross Farm, and I had specific fiber in mind. She had put something out on social media about the fact that she was going to have a limited amount of very hard to get Hog Island fiber. Hog Island sheep are extremely rare. There's only like 200 of them, I think she said, anywhere. And they've got some on their farm, which is exciting because they're helping to, you know, keep that breed going. Anyway, this was one of the bags of the Hog Island roving, and I am just so tickled that I got this. She was telling me that usually Hog Island sheep tend to be this color. If you've ever been to Mount Vernon, Hog Island is the sheep they have at Mount Vernon. And I have seen them there. That was a long time ago, though, and I don't think I even knew what they were or what the difference was. But anyway, they're usually this color. Sometimes you get this medium grayish brown color, but this color is apparently quite rare, this darker brown. So I'm very excited to have this. I envision spinning this up 3 separate skeins. Well, maybe not 3 separate skeins, but I'm going to split it in half and do a gradient, definitely. So I'll probably do each one separately, like a 2-ply of each separate, and do some sort of small gradient thing, because I honestly don't know how much there is here in weight. I'm guessing somewhere between 4 and 6 ounces. I honestly don't know for sure. Sorry, my volume's on. So it's not going to give me a lot of yardage, and I have no idea how it's going to spin because I've never spun this. I've never had it before. So I can't wait to play with it, but it'll be some sort of a gradienty or color worky kind of project. So I'm very excited to have gotten that. The only other thing that I definitely wanted to do is I wanted to check out the fleece sale. Now, I don't process my own fleece. I've always wanted to, and I have a fleece sitting in my basement that I bought at my very first Rhinebeck many years ago, which some people would tell you it's probably not worth anything now, but then other people have said you can still work with it. So someday I will get back to it. But I got in way over my head when I bought that fleece. I bought a huge fleece. It was a very expensive fleece. It was a fine wool. It was Cormo. I had no business buying that fleece. I knew nothing about it. So I decided this time I wanted to get just a small, medium wool fleece. Didn't have to be a decent, really good fleece, just decent, just for me to practice and learn about fleece processing. The week prior to Rhinebeck, I had been listening to the FleeceWise series that was done as a 4-part series done by Claire from New Hampshire Knits, which is an audio podcast, Sarah from Fiber Trek, which is a video podcast, Emily from Fiber Town, which is a video podcast, and then Sarah Pomegranate from Yarns at Yin Hu, which is another audio podcast. They did a 4-part series all about fleece. You know, how sheep are raised in order to get good fleeces, how fleece are, you know, judged at shows like this, preparing a fleece, you know, washing it, scouring it, doing all that kind of stuff, just all the different stuff, picking out a fleece, what to look for, and working with it. It was a wonderful series, and if you're all interested in this topic, I would really recommend going and watching and or listening to that series. I will put the links to all of that in the show notes. Anyway, that was what I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to find a fleece. So we went to the fleece market actually fairly early in the day and spent a lot of time. We were probably there an hour. And you know, Bill does not know anything about this stuff. So I'm talking to him and telling him like why I like one fleece more than another fleece and looking at different things. And you know, he was just sort of listening to me. So then I found this little Romney fleece. It was a small one. It was probably less than, it was like 1.5 pounds maybe. I don't remember. It had been put in the wrong category. It had been categorized as a long wool. It wasn't a long wool, it's a medium wool. So it was in the wrong area to begin with. And it was, I mean, it had gotten decent grade. It was graded fairly well by the judges, and it had gotten a little blue sticker, which is a good sign. But it was like 23 bucks or something. It was very inexpensive, and I thought, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need because it's not very large. It's not very expensive. So I got in line and I told Bill, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to be here a while because the line was super long at that point. And I said, go ahead, I'll meet you later. Go do whatever. Well, I got in this line and I soon realized I was going to be there for well over an hour. And I thought, this is silly. I don't need this fleece that badly. So I got out of line and I put it back and I just thought, you know what, I'll come back later when the line's shorter. If it's still here, great. If not, I don't really need it. Or I can find a different one maybe, whatever. So I went and found him and he's like, seriously, you didn't buy it? We stood in there all that time for nothing. And I'm like, well, it wasn't for nothing. I said, I'm learning about this process of, you know, evaluating fleeces when you want to buy one. And it was a really good hands-on learning experience for me to look at all of those. So he's like, okay, you know, whatever. So we went about our day and did everything else. And so then towards the end of the day, we did go back to the fleece area, and it was much emptier at that point, both of people and of fleeces. And so I started looking for my little lost Romney fleece, and I was having a hard time. I couldn't find it. In the meantime, he's looking at all these other fleeces, and he's just poking around the bags. You know, they're open. They don't really want you taking them out. But he's looking, and he kept fondling this one. It was a Shetland, and I was not looking for a primitive breed fleece. And he's like, oh, this feels so nice. And so I went over and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, it does. It's really soft and squishy, and it was very pretty colors and everything. I said, but that's not what I'm looking for. I said that, number one, it costs way more than what I wanted to spend on a fleece. Number two, it's just not what I want to work with. He's like, okay. So anyway, I kept looking. Well, I finally found my little Romney fleece. I was considering this sort of the Charlie Brown Christmas tree of fleeces, you know, just because it had been in the wrong spot for so long. And then it finally did get put in the right spot, but it had been looked over all day, and it was just this little fleece. I thought, you need to come home with me, because that's exactly what you need when you're first learning, right? Is a problem fleece. And I don't honestly know that it's a problem fleece. I'm trying to find it so I can show you. Hang on. I know. You know what's coming, right? Because I'm saying I have to figure out which one it is. It's this one. And they come in these big plastic bags. And here he is in all his sheepy smelling goodness. Oh, he smells so good. Look at him. Isn't he lovely? I have no idea if it was really a he or a she. But, oh my gosh. I fell in love with it. It's so pretty, and I think the crimp is lovely. It only scored a 4 out of 5, but I think it's lovely. It seems to be a fairly clean fleece, and it's got awesome colors. Where's my little... Okay. I pulled out at least 3 different colors out of this fleece once I got him home. So there they are. And look at the crimp. Oh my goodness. So it's got a lot of this light colored wool, and then there's a medium brown, and then there's a darker brown. It's not super dark. There's no like dark chocolatey brown in this one. But it's just beautiful, and it smells so good. And it seemed very clean. I mean, obviously I'm gonna have to scour it, but you know what? I was very happy with this one, and I wanted him, and so he came home with me. He's only 1 pound something. What is he? 1 pound. 1 pound 11 ounces. It was 3-year and 4-month-old sheep. It's actually it's not compacted, but I think it maybe has a lot of lanolin in it, which makes it seem smaller than the other fleece I bought. Bill would not stop looking at this Shetland fleece, and I kept getting drawn back to it, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just get them both. Because that's what happens if you stand around this stuff too long. You get sucked in by the wool fumes, and you come home with 2 fleeces. But oh my gosh, look at this fleece. Look at the colors. Look at them. I know, I'm a little crazy, but I mean, there is such a variety of colors. I can't really even open this up enough to show you, but it's everything from this super, super light stuff to this deep black that's beautiful. The black has virtually no crimp in it. I learned that crimp is not something that's judged on primitive breeds because it can vary so much even within a fleece. I didn't know that. And also because primitive breeds tend to be dual coated, meaning they have the harder guard, the rougher guard hairs, and then the softer under fur, under wool fur, you know. You know what I mean. This Shetland appears to not have been a dual-coated Shetland. Apparently the American Shetlands tend not to be. But, oh, it has some very beautiful crimp in it in certain spots. Oh, look at this. I don't want to pull this all apart, but here, where's the, my little samples I pulled out when I got home. I picked out 4 very distinct colors out of this guy. I am just madly in love with this, and I'm so glad I bought him, even though I had absolutely no intention of buying this. So there's this light, really light color, and then there's this silvery gray, and then there's this brownish gray, and then there's this black. And I know the colors aren't coming across as true on the screen as they are for me right here. And this light is really, really blowing them out too. Let me see if I can get rid of some of the light. There, that's better. Look at these colors. And the crimp, look at the crimp. Look at all those little, oh my gosh. It makes my heart go pitter-patter. It really does. This guy was only 1 pound 6 ounces, and honestly, he's much fluffier than the Romney. But again, that I'm surmising that it's the amount of lanolin. This is a nice, this does not feel like a dried out, crunchy wool in any respect. I did feel some the individual booths, not at the fleece sale, that were just like, ooh, as soon as I touched them, I'm like, no, can't do that. This one definitely has lanolin in it, but I'm just thinking it doesn't have maybe as much lanolin, and neither of them are super dirty with veg matter either, and no poo. I haven't found any lumps of poo in this. The one I have downstairs, yeah, that one has a lot of poo in it. But anyway, I'm so happy with these fleeces. These are going to be winter projects, to be sure, because I don't have time to mess with them right now. At least I shouldn't mess with them right now. I should wait. But I can't wait to play with them. But before I do anything with them, I'm going to take the time to read and know what I'm doing and know what will work best with them, because I don't want to mess them up. I want to do this right this time. And then maybe I'll attack the Cormo that's down there and see if I can do anything with it after all this time. We'll see. But that was my Rhinebeck purchases. I was very excited. So, alrighty, that is all my new stuff. 10%. As far as books, I'm almost done listening to Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think I've got about an hour left. I'm looking forward to seeing how this ends. It's interesting. I've been enjoying it, though. And along those same lines, I mean, it's sort of a creepier book than I was anticipating it being, but not super creepy. But I decided last week I was just in the mood to watch something different while I was working. And so I got on Netflix, and I, on a whim, decided to give Stranger Things a try. That is not my genre, like the whole creepy, paranormal, kind of weird, you know, X-Files-y. I'm assuming it's sort of X-Files-y. I never watched the X-Files, but like Fringe. I would kind of equate it to Fringe, if you remember that TV show. I did like Fringe. That's not my usual genre of show, but oh my gosh, I got sucked into Stranger Things because I've heard so many people talk about it, and so I thought I'd give it a try. I binge watched like the first 5.5 episodes in one day. So I'm in the middle of episode 6, and I have 7 and 8 left to go. Really, really good. I'm so enjoying that. So you might give it a try, even if that's not your normal go-to kind of TV show. Anyway, all right. Well, that is everything that I've got for 90% and 10%. I told you a little bit about my last 2 weekends, so I'm not going to go into anything more about that. I do have shop news, and let me see. Do I need to gather? I guess I have everything right here. All right, so I'm not going to pause. I'm just going to go into this, and hopefully I've got everything here to show you. First of all, I mentioned this last time, and I'll mention it again. The Smooth Sailing Sunny Skies colorway. I still have this up in the shop as a pre-order, and I'm donating a portion of the profits for these pre-ordered skeins to Hurricane Matthew Relief, 2 different organizations. You can read about all of that in the listing. I'm offering this on seven different bases, so you can choose anything from, the cozy weight base, which is a worsted weight. That's the least expensive of them, all the way up through like my MCN base, and bounce and bedazzled, like lots of choices. So whichever works for you, you can get it on. Again, these are pre-orders, and I just want to thank everybody who has so far pre-ordered one of these, because it's really going to a good cause. I mean, that devastation from the hurricane, I still think about that, and it's not in the news as much because that's how current events work these days, but it's still, for the people who were hit with that, it's very much a very part of their everyday life. So if you'd like to help out a little bit and get some pretty yarn in the process, go ahead and pre-order these. Leaving the pre-orders up through October 31st. So you've got 1 more week for those. Next, I've been adding some Dyer's Secret stash stuff to the shop, just here and there. I put a bunch up last week. I think most of it's probably gone already. I do have some more that I'm going to be putting up, so just watch for that. I'm not holding that for any particular updates or anything, but it's just, it's stuff that I've had in my own stash that I've dyed that hasn't gone up for one reason or another. It was either like something I dyed for myself and didn't use, or something I was holding to make a shop sample and never made it, or a colorway I don't dye anymore, or it was an oops, or something was odd about it, whatever, there's just a bunch of different things. So you can check those out, and they're all going up at a discount also, so be watching for those if you're interested. The other thing was the Killarney Collection Club. Last week I did tell you about 2 different clubs that I'm starting this fall, and the first one, the signups for it are now open, and that's what I did, a very short, it was about 10 minutes long last Friday, an introduction video, a podcast. It was just about that club though. So the video, if you're interested in the club, go ahead and watch the video, because I give you all the details about it in that. Or you can go to the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, and there's a thread up there that tells you all about the club as well. Basically though, just a little thumbnail about it, it's a 3-month club. The shipments will go out at the end of November, January, and March. It's going to be a variegated and speckled type of yarn that's going out. And these colorways will be very much along the same dyeing technique that I used for this colorway, the Smooth Sailing Sunny Skies. Very much the same as the Antigua collection that I dyed earlier this year. That's the colorways that will be in the Killarney Collection Club. They are all going to be inspired by my recent trip to Killarney Provincial Park up in Ontario earlier this fall. So unlike the Antigua colorways, this is going to be a whole new color palette. Just very rich, deep, earthy colors, the nature oriented. I just can't wait. Oh my gosh. I'm thrilled to be doing these colorways. So anyway, that's what that is. There are 3 different options as far as bases that you can choose. 2 fingering weight and 1 worsted weight. You can choose to pay by the shipment, or you can pay for the whole club up front and get a 10% discount on it. But the big change from prior clubs is that I've streamlined the membership process, and I'm facilitating all of this through my shop in shop listings. So there are 6 different club listings up. 1 for each base, pay per shipment, 1 for each base, pay for the whole thing up front. So you just pick which one you want, buy it, and you are in the club. I'm not limiting how many people can sign up for this club, but the sign-ups themselves are limited and from last Friday through this Friday. So once sign-ups close this Friday, then membership is closed. So if you want to get in on this one, you have to sign up by the end of this Friday. Otherwise, you'll have to wait at least 6 months to see any of these colorways after they've been sent out to the club members, because there will be a 6-month exclusivity period at a minimum for each of the colors after they're dyed and shipped out to the club members. So that is the Killarney Collection Club. The Pie of the Every Other Month Club that I mentioned last week, that will be forthcoming. I will have information out about that in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that if you're waiting on that one. But I'm staggering these releases. I can't do them both at once. So anyway. All right, lastly, we've got update news because I have a shop update happening this Wednesday, the 26th of October at 7 p.m. Eastern. And this is pretty much Christmas colorways, holiday colorways. And there are new ones for the most part. There's one thing that is has been done in past years. I will do other holiday and Christmas colorways in a future update that are old colorways of mine, like ones that I've done in previous years. But this update is all new colorways, and I can't wait to show them to you. So let's see. I have to get some stuff up here. Two of them are self-striping, so I'm going to start with those. Okay. The first one is sort of a traditional Christmassy holiday colorway and sort of not. So here's what it looks like in the skein. So as you can see, we've got red and green going on, and there's definitely the darker, more traditional red and the darker, more traditional green. But then you're also going to have this lighter reddish, pinkish reddish color and a much lighter, more muted green. And so this colorway currently has the name Variations on a Christmas Theme. I reserve the right to amend that and make it something less long, but that's what I've been calling it in my brain. I have knit up a sample of this because I wanted you to be able to see what it looks like, because they are variegated stripes. It's a two-striper, but both stripes are variegated. And as you can see, there's going to be some areas where the difference is quite striking, and then there will be some areas where it's going to be a very subtle shift of stripe. And that was actually really what I was going for. I wanted it to just be a variation on those colors, but I wanted it to stripe, and I wanted it to just be something slightly less than traditional. And I love how it turned out. Here's the other side. And again, I mean, you see the stripes, and yet they're just such subtle shifts in some places. It's just really cool. So two-striper, but both stripes are variegated. It was really, I'll be honest with you, it was an experiment, a dye experiment, because I've never done a two-striper where both stripes are variegated before, but I really like how it turned out. So hopefully you will too. There'll be 4 skeins of this in the bounce base. I didn't want to commit to doing it on a bunch of different bases because, again, it was an experiment. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. So I'll probably do it up on other bases for future weeks. Okay, so that's the first one. The other one is also a self-striper. Well, the second one is a self-striper. And my motivation for dyeing this one was more experiential, okay? So every holiday season, I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but, you know, there's the ideal vision of the holiday. You know, everything's going to be perfect and decorated and peaceful, and it's just this lovely idyllic scene in your head. And then reality happens, right? You've got Christmas parties and Christmas cards, and you got to get them out, and holiday gift shopping and wrapping, and if you've got people out of town, you got to get them to the post office and mail them, and like if the kids are in Christmas pageants or whatever, you have to get those, and costumes and you know, concerts, and you know, the next thing you know, you're going crazy, right? We all have this happen. Most of us anyway. Maybe if you don't do a whole lot for the holidays, then you don't have this, and lucky you. Honestly, that would be nice to not have that kind of crazy stuff going on. But in my life, especially when my kids were younger, it was always pretty hectic. And so I was inspired to dye up a colorway called Holidays. HOLI-DAZE, because that's what ends up, you end up in a holidays. And here is the colorway. And I just love how this turned out. So you've got your traditional green and your traditional red that you see at the holidays a lot of times. But in between those two little stripes of that traditional, idyllic, wonderful stuff, you've got all of the crazy speckled goodness going on this white background. And it's really blowing out in this light. But there are all kinds of specks. There are orange and gold and green and blue and bright pink and bright purple and fuchsia and just everything happening in there. Ooh, there, maybe back here is better. Representing just all that crazy goodness that's going on. Because it is good and it's fun, but it just like sometimes leaves you tired. So anyway, I have dyed this up on 5 different bases. And again, the light is really not doing us any favors here. The pictures in the listings will be much more accurate. But anyway, this is on Bounce. And this, I'm trying to do these in order. Okay, let's do these in order. Bounce, Bedazzled, Squish 2.0, and Heavenly. So those are all fingering weight bases. Okay. And then I also did some on Cozy, which is my worsted weight. So anyway, these will be going up in the shop this week on these 5 bases. I hope to dye up more to have in future updates if these go well. So let me know what you think. I had so much fun with this colorway and it turned out exactly the way I wanted it to. I just love all the bright colored speckles that represent that craziness that we just all get sucked into, it seems. So anyway, that was the second new colorway. The third new colorway is a variegated and speckled colorway. Again, much in the same dyeing technique that I've been using on the Smooth Sailing Sunny Skies and the Antigua collection and the forthcoming Killarney Club collection. And this one was inspired by one of my family's favorite holiday movies that we see on TV every year. Well, we actually have it on DVD, so we just watch it on DVD. But it's one that my family loves the most, and it's The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And it's a specific scene in that movie, a landscape scene. And I'm going to put the picture of it in here. So it's the view going down into Whoville. And this is at the end of the movie, once the Grinch has had his epiphany and his heart has grown multiple sizes and he's coming down into Whoville and he can't believe that the Whos are still really happy even though he's tried to steal Christmas from them. And so all of the Whos are standing around their big Christmas tree and they're singing and everything. That was what I wanted to capture because I love that part of the movie. So this is Welcome to Whoville, because that's what it says in the picture. Welcome to Whoville on that big arch. So you've got the light pink and the darker pink of the big arch. And then you've got that bright, let's see, the bright, it's hard for me to point when I'm just looking at the screen. That darker bright blue of the sky and the snow. And then inside, I'll open this up so you can see them maybe a little bit easier. On the white sections, which, you know, the Whos are standing in the snow, you've got all of the speckles. And the speckles represent all of the different colors of the Whos clothing. So there's orange and green and purple and blue and what else? Brown, no, not brown. Purple, pink, blue, orange, gold, green, just all the colors of the Whoville people. I'm really thrilled with how this one came out too. I had such a good dyeing week last week. I love coming up with new colorways, and sometimes I just get inspired to do a lot of them and I want to do them all at once, and I usually don't, but for the holiday colorways I just wanted to do them because I only do them once a year, and so I wanted to get them out there. And that's why this week's update has pretty much all just the new colorways. My next update will have some of my past holiday colorways as well. But anyway, this week you will find this on Bounce and on Bedazzled. And I will dye up more if people want it. So anyway, you're not seeing the sparkle in this, but trust me, it's actually on, oh, there we go. There's some sparkle. I really like it on the sparkly base because it does look so much like the glittery snow in the picture, but it looks nice on both colors, or on both bases. Okay, so those are all the new ones. I lied. I didn't really lie. I just forgot. Inversible wise, I will have my traditional Christmas colored inversibles, the cardinal red and forest green, the darker red and green. Those inversibles, I have some sets of those to go up this week. And then lastly, I put together a set of holiday minis. So if you're somebody who likes knitting like little ornaments or those little Christmas stockings for the Advent Christmas garlands, or if you just want to do, you know, heels and toes or fingers on holiday gloves or whatever, this might be a really nice set for you. And so here they are. This is 6 skeins, 20 grams each. So there is holly berry red, pine tree green, star on top gold, tinsel silver, without you blue, which if you don't get that reference, that's from I'll Have a Blue Christmas Without You. So without you blue, and snowflake white, which that's really getting blown up, but it's just an undyed white skein of yarn. So anyway, there will be several sets of these up in the shop this week as well. So that is everything for the shop this week. If you have any questions, please PM me and let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Again, the update is on Wednesday, the 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I do not have the next update scheduled yet, but I will let you know that next week when I podcast. So, all right, that's everything. Until I see you next week, have a great week. I hope your week is full of wonderful knitting goodness and fibery fun, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care.